Game 2 in the Silver Ferns defence of Commonwealth Games gold is against Pacific neighbour the Cook Islands. This breaks a 7-year drought. The last time these two met was back in 2003 at the World Champs in Jamaica. A New Zealand team featuring my cohort today, Tanya Dalton, and it beat the Cooks 107-17. And Tanya, I think it's probably a fair assessment to say the gulf probably hasn't narrowed.
Yeah, I think you're right, Andrea. Look, I think the Silver Ferns will be looking at another hefty win today. For them, this is a dress rehearsal leading into Thursday's big pool match against England. For Ruth, I'm sure she'll want to get all her squad members on, especially Timapara George, who didn't get on yesterday. And I'm sure at some stage we will see her starting 7, whether it be at the start of this game or the end.
Last time, a 90-goal deficit. We expect similar today. Could you tell me again the benefits of games like this? What are the things they'll take from it?
Again, like yesterday, you know, where they won by 81, it is a dress rehearsal for those big games. Getting players out on the court, going through their systems, going through their set plays, feeling good about themselves. You know, the shooters getting used to the posts, the court, all those sort of things. That's what they'll be looking at.
It's an absolute day of milestones, and I'm sure that we'll see her shortly. But a massive day for Irene van Dijk. She becomes the most capped Silver Fern today with 111 test caps. That is magnificent.
Look, it's not only a big day, it's been a big few days for Irene van Dijk, and I caught up with her yesterday and I've never had a hug so tight, I think. The emotion, she's still, you know, she's feeling it, she's feeling good. She's an inspiration to everyone, to New Zealand, you know, the flag bearer. She's enjoying herself here, and she doesn't want a day off tomorrow. She said, we just want to get it going. You know, they're here on a mission, the Silver Ferns.
She's 38 years old, but she's never been injured. So, I mean, it's just been an amazing career, isn't it? When you take a look at the Group B, a rest day tomorrow for New Zealand, and then the big clash that we're all waiting for up against England on Thursday morning. Pretty strong group, and we saw South Africa perform really well today against England, so plenty of good stuff on the way for the Silver Ferns.
Certainly, and you know, England, obviously we've talked about it, we know they're the big one. South Africa, they pushed England for a while there today. England were pretty clinical in their approach this morning, but this one will just be a run through for the Silver Ferns and going through all their systems.
Well, here at Tiagaraj Stadium in Delhi, it's a much better atmosphere in today. It's almost, Tanya, as if they've gone to rentacrowd.com, because the atmosphere in here today has actually been electric. It's been almost like a Bollywood film set.
Yeah, and it actually reminded me a bit of Jamaica in 2003. The dancing, everyone was loving it, the waves or whatever they called. Yeah, it's starting to hum in here, and it's only going to get better as the week progresses.
Taking a look at our umpires for this match, and you have to say at these Commonwealth Games, umpiring's been great.
Well, there's been no complaints. It seems to be pretty free-flowing, and I'm sure they'll start coming out maybe as it gets tighter.
Let's talk about the Cook Islands. We've already mentioned the golf and the last time these two met back in 2003. These two sides, even though they're Pacific neighbours, have only met 10 times, Tanya.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, you mentioned before, 2003 was the last time they played. It's a tough ask for the Cook Island team, you know, having caught up with them. They haven't had much of a build-up. Two local players in the side, the rest are based in New Zealand and Australia. They got back together, you know, a few days before this started. But this is the woman this game is all about, Irene van Dijk. Unbelievable role model for all. 111 test caps after today. We forget 72 for South Africa, so yeah. Take a bow.
And that record surpasses Leslie Rumble. She was known as Leslie Nicol, one of your old Silver Ferns captains, and you've absolutely no doubt that Leslie will be feeling mighty proud on Irene's behalf.
Yeah, I mean, the whole group will be feeling proud for her. An amazing competitor, world's best shooter still at her age. Yeah, a true inspiration.
So we're getting set for the start of the second pool match for New Zealand in their defence of Commonwealth Games gold. The Silver Ferns up against their Pacific neighbours, the Cook Islands. The Cook Islands, well, really a collection of players too, as Tanya said, based in the Cook Islands. The rest gathered around New Zealand and Australia, and their coach, Ngā Gifford, Hawke's Bay based. And one of her coaching mentors a woman who we both used to play netball with, Tanya Derns, formerly known as Tanya Cox, and she's done a terrific amount with Ngā, helping her develop as a coach. And speaking to Ngā Gifford, her aim for this match, Tanya, really just to stay in touch and perhaps to try and make the most of any possession or bonus possession that they get against the Silver Ferns.
Yeah, and for the Cook Islands team, they didn't play day one, so this is their first game in the Commonwealth Games. There'll be a lot of nerves there. I mean, big ask coming up against the Silver Ferns, but you know, they'll relish this opportunity to play against the girls in black, and you know, a lot of them will know them, so they'll go out, enjoy it, try and get the turnovers and score from them.
Well, for them as well, to come up against the calibre of players as the women who are wearing the black dress today, you learn plenty from being out on court against players like that.
Yeah, and I guess the key for the Cook Islands side, to keep their heads up, keep pushing through. You know, there'll be patches where they'll probably go on a bit of a dive, but you can't give up. And I mean, watching the Cook Island team warm up, they certainly look athletic. And there's some supporters for them too, so listen for the screams.
There's actually plenty of support here for the Cook Islands, and you can guarantee that they'll make a racket. We're not sure about the rest of the crowd, whether or not they're massively familiar with netball, but it is great to have numbers into Te Agaraj Stadium today. New Zealand umpire John O'Brien and amongst the crowd as well, soaking in the atmosphere here in Delhi.
And talking to some of the umpires earlier when they arrived at their hotel, they were given twin beds. They didn't realise that they were double beds and they were supposed to share, so they had to sort that out pretty quickly, so quite entertaining. I guess the other big thing here today, another milestone, Casey Williams, captain of the Silver Ferns, her 50th test, which is a pretty special time for her as well. 25 years old.
Yeah, pretty massive achievement. She's actually not got the starting bib though, as we take a look now at the starting 7 for New Zealand. Yes, Irene van Dijk on court. She will become the most capped Silver Fern in history. So a huge congratulations to Irene van Dijk. She'll combine with Tutaia. Then Barrett chased at wing attack with Temapara George on the bench. Still feeling just a little bit dally, I think you'd call it.
Yeah, talking to Lynn Gunson earlier, a bit of an inner ear problem, which no one likes to hear. It's that balance thing. And the Cook Islands starting lineup.
Pretty famous name in there at goal defence, Luciana Martinga. Now, she is the daughter of the famous former Silver Fern Margie Martinga, who I'm sure we all remember as one of the most beautiful goal shoots to ever wear the black dress. Irene van Dijk now leads onto the court, the Silver Ferns team, in the absence of Casey Williams, who's on the bench at the beginning of this match. It's a huge honour for her. And a big challenge ahead for these Cook Islands players, and there she is, Luciana Martinga. She's one of just 2 players who are based in the Cook Islands. She's left a little one at home in the Cooks, being looked after by family as well, so a big commitment to be here.
Yeah, like a lot of these girls out here. More and more mums coming back into the game.
Here we go, game 2 for the Silver Ferns. It's against the Cook Islands at Te Agaraj Stadium in Delhi, as their defensive goal continues at the Commonwealth Games. Brunton to Ritua Aliaba'a. She's a former Mystics player, the Cook Islands centre. So if she looks familiar to you, that's why. She's also a teammate of Temapara George.
And look to her to guide the side. Paddy Tahuna there at goal attack, a twin. Sisters on the bench. Cousin of Jodie Tahuna.
So a turnover already to the Silver Ferns. Tutaia, baseline shooting opportunity, she takes it. And the pass for the Ferns. Langman uses Tutaia. Good straight line, Silver Ferns. Swings it.
And Matapo doing some pretty tight man-on-man marking on Van Dijk. Simple stuff for Langman.
She's had some really nice touches on the feed, has Laura Langman. 2 already for the Ferns. And just nothing on It's De Bruyne who picks up the scraps, and the Ferns fly through court again. What a bullet!
On the ball.
Straight through the arms of Matapo. And George there in the picture hasn't even pitted up, so
Tutaia this time. So the Silver Ferns, well, unanswered. Tahuna now. And Curly George has a shot. It's up short though. In fact, it's an air ball. She'll be disappointed with that.
and Curly George, the veteran in the side, 34 years old.
Out chase bursts. And good angles, Silver Ferns. Oh, that's a set move. Yeah. Chance now for the Cook Islands. Martin is used on the transverse line. They just hit a wall of black defenders.
And Grant coming all the way up to the transverse line.
Now Gifford, coach of the Cook Islands, on the left of your screen on those coach shots. And just no way to penetrate the circle. It's easy stuff so far for the Ferns defence, and pretty easy on attack too.
Tutaia there yesterday going at 77%. We want to lift that.
Barrett chase, great work off the line. And the variety that we saw yesterday with Irene van Dijk coming to the head of the circle.
And then into the deep corners for the feeders.
Smile on the face of the Silver Ferns coach, Ruth Aiken. Should be pretty pleased with this start. It's a strong one from the Silver Ferns. Martinga.
Again, Grant switching with De Bruyne.
Oh, and she could have had a go, Katrina Grant. Tahuna works her way closer to the post, and it's De Bruyne who sets up.
Tahuna using her body well.
And there we go, the Cook Islands on the board. It's taken them almost 4 minutes.
Up to go back from Van Dijk. Drew her defender up. Showing her repertoire.
Oh, good burst, Tahuna. She's too late for the feed though.
Cunning stuff there from Grant. Obstructing. Letting De Bruyne drop back.
And you'll see Tahuna and Curly George really trying to work the angles. There's such a height difference. Better stuff. Yeah. Nice spaces by the Cook Islands. Shooting combination up short again though.
And Henry with nowhere to go. Cook's putting on a mid-court zone.
Shut the pass.
Both Martinga and Matapo dropping back on Van Dijk.
That's it.
Easy stuff for Maria Tutaia. So 5 minutes gone in this match between New Zealand and the Cook Islands. It's 8-1 New Zealand. In fact, I think you can guarantee 9-1. Yes, you can. Tahuna for the Cook Islands, and much better angles. They're starting to settle into their play. You just can't go over two tall timbers. George now throwing.
And De Bruyne, Langman working hard.
And they're forcing the two Cook Islands mid-quarters to the head of the circle, trying to cramp the space. And what that's doing is it's setting up the intercepts for De Bruyne and Katrina Grant. So clever stuff. And Tanya, I really enjoy the difference in the various defensive combinations for New Zealand. When Williams and Katrina Grant are on, they'll swing sides of the court. So sometimes Grant will play on the goal kick side and then switch across to the goal defence side. with De Bruyne on at goal defence, Grant sticks mostly to the goal keep side, and she's so good at coming out for intercepts, so it just changes it so much. It's almost salivating, isn't it?
You're right, and Grant coming all the way up, right to the transverse line, so it's pretty gutsy as a goalkeeper, but knowing you've got De Bruyne in behind, and De Bruyne with the height and the athletic ability, certainly enjoyable to watch. De Bruyne only coming on in the last quarter yesterday, so I'm sure she'll be loving having the start.
And when you look ahead to the rest of the games, you throw Anna Scarlett into the mix, and so much variety.
You look at Scarlett yesterday, 10 deflections, 5 intercepts in half a game.
Yeah, she's a freak. Yeah. Great stuff, Cook Islands defence.
Masako.
And the ball. You beauty.
Aliva'a, sensational vision.
And there's the intercept, good combination in circle, Cook Islands. Chase now, nice easy pass into Tutaia. They're doing the basics well, the Silver Ferns. And in a game like this, the temptation to be a bit willy-nilly, if you like, just surely must be there.
Yeah, like I said yesterday, they'll be working in 5-minute chunks. They'll be mixing it up. Sometimes they'll be saying, hey, let's keep it short, flat, look long. They'll be going through all those type game plans.
Absolute copybook use of the away hand, Liana De Bruyne. Stunning skills. And Tutaia will finish it. So just over halfway through the first spell. 12-3, New Zealand leading the Cook Islands. The Silver Ferns having a field day.
Nice little give-get there from Tutaia and Van Dyke.
Van Dyke now, of course, New Zealand's most capped test netballer, 111th test cap today. Solomona and Martinga combining. Tahuna looks for anything inside the circle.
Langman and Henry doing a power of work outside the circle, keeping the Cook Island feeders off the edge.
George will look for the angles again. And an amazing defence of the shot. She's good for it though, and she likes it. And no goal deemed, but the penalty was taken.
Cook Islands trying to look long.
Wing attack. Much better stuff. Aliva'a into George, and a good drive. Curly George, the veteran of this Cook Islands team, 34. Someone's hit the on button. This time Tutaia has a crack.
And Tutaia's defensive game certainly has improved, I believe, over the season.
She's actually got very nice defensive technique, you have to say, for a goal attack.
The away hand.
No offence to you goal attacks.
I don't think I ever got an intercept. And Curly George showing a bit of emotion there.
A good rapid ball movement. Sees the Silver Ferns convert again. Take a bow, Curly George. Tutaia finds Langman. So they're working the ball nicely around the circle, and the attacking end are the Silver Ferns.
Tutaia and Van Dyke, like a pulley system. Tutaia driving.
Wing attack, contact, New Zealand.
Contact called against Solomona, so now the Ferns are away again. And just as the Cook Islands were starting to get a bit of a mini run on, Henry sets the penalty.
Again, going to the top of the circle. And a simple feed.
Van Dyke's just camping out on the baseline.
I guess the Silver Ferns have got to be careful. Some of those feeds they're going in today. But in a couple of days, they're up against the likes of Jiva Mentor, Sonia McCloma.
And they won't go in against them. Cook Islands now. Tahuna looks back to the transverse line. And nice, deft touch. It doesn't come off, but some real glimpses from the Cooks as they have a go. The big bomb to Barrett Chase. And here's these angles, more variety.
Tutai going the base, Van Dyke rolling the top.
And all of those things we talk about, Tanya, as being so important. To practice those moves and to get the variety in matches like this. Wow. Yeah, that was a bullet.
Van Dyke doing her job there.
Grant called for elbows, contact. And Curly George on fire. So Katrina Grant's going to need to add a bit of variety to her game. And that's just stunning, Tanya.
Tutai and Van Dyke certainly started strong this afternoon. It's funny though, you look at the faces of the Silver Ferns, every one of them looking intense, on a mission. It could be so easy just to let rip a few crazy bombs or something like that, but you can see they're just ticking it off, clinical in their approach.
Just under 2 minutes until quarter time now. 21-8, New Zealand leading the Cook Islands. You could almost call that one crazy.
And a typical laugh from Van Dyke.
Cook Islands now. Mid-court zone being applied by the Silver Ferns, and it's exactly what it sets out to achieve. Barrett Chase resets in the pocket, and Tutai at the front cut. And New Zealand had been running at 100% until that miss from Maria Tutai. Sits them at 95, but they get it back.
Barrett Chase making it look so easy. I guess she's relishing the opportunity. She had a full game yesterday at both wing attack and centre.
Yes, and if you're wondering why Temapara George is not even kitted up, she's just a bit woozy is the word from in the New Zealand camp.
But there's a little bit of that around Delhi at the moment.
Oh, what do you say about that?
Pinpoint accuracy.
Full attack.
And an offensive contact called against Tahuna.
And not set, penalty not set in the right place, so these little things will be what they want to tidy.
That'll be the last act of the first quarter though. Here at Tyagaraja Stadium in Delhi. It's New Zealand completely dominant over the Cook Islands. No real surprise there. The score going to the quarter time break. New Zealand 24, Cook Islands 8. Tyagaraja Stadium in Delhi, and the Silver Ferns' second pool match of these Commonwealth Games. It's quarter time, and New Zealand lead the Cook Islands, their Pacific neighbours, by 24-8. And former Fern Tanya Dalton, no real surprises.
No, this is exactly what we expected. It's a dress rehearsal for the Silver Ferns leading into Thursday, so they'll be ticking through all their set plays, all their moves. And in terms of Cook Islands, I think they've started reasonably well. They're, Curly George, their veteran and its shooter, she's taken some good ball, put some nice shots in. So they're doing themselves proud. I'm sure we'll see a number of changes from Ruth Aitken looking at the bench at the moment.
Yes, this match, the Silver Ferns last before that big clash Tanya mentioned on Thursday, which is against England. Such a bogey team for New Zealand. And yes, as you said, Tanya, changes galore. And I guess the biggest one, Anna Scarlett, wing defence. It's got to be the tallest defence in the history of netball.
I'm sure she will enjoy that opportunity. Whippieti. She came on at half-time yesterday. I thought she was a bit laboured in her start, so she'll be wanting a strong start exactly like that.
That's exactly what she got. Also the introduction at wing attack of Grace Rasmussen. We saw her play there for a quarter yesterday in the New Zealand opening game. So changes galore, great to see.
Yeah, and I guess with Timothy George out at the moment, you've got to take, look at the what ifs if she doesn't come right, which I'm sure she will. You've got to have a few options up your sleeve, and Rasmussen is certainly a strong wing attack.
And Tahuna easy on the baseline. Just a couple of slips in communication between Katrina Grant and Liana de Bruin, but it's a combination that perhaps hasn't worked together as often as some of the other New Zealand defensive combos.
No, and when you look at a combination like that, and now with Anna Scarlett coming on, that'll change it a lot as well.
Jolene Henry was one of only 2 Silver Ferns players yesterday in the Silver Ferns opener to play a full game, so no surprise really that she's being rested.
Just about took out 2 signs here too.
Oh, there's the bomb. It's got too much on it though. And will be easy called for contact. Good basic straight lines from the Cook Islands. Straight down the court and then the square and then unfortunately the stray ball. And a really nicely weighted pass from Tutaia.
Nice and open in there for Whippieti. She's had a big year, Danica Whippieti. Second Commonwealth Games, her first one was at Manchester.
And nice looking from Aliava'a, a former ANZ Championship player. Tutaia now. And Grace Rasmussen settling nicely into her work at wing attack. Good hands-on pressure, Cook Islands.
Contact, pass a shot.
And you look at the setup for circle rotation on that amazing overhead shot. It's a great netball shot. Mid-court zone from the Cook Islands. So they too, plenty of variety on defence. Rasmussen circle edge, good exchange between she and Tutaia.
And the 2 defenders sitting back on Whippieti, giving Tutaia room on the top of the circle.
That's a better pass. Tutaia to Whippieti.
And Whippieti seeming like more urgent today.
She always looks like such a relaxed character, Danica Whippieti. And when she gets her iron, really beautiful shooter to watch. Ah, lovely pass. George camping out under the post. George really encouraging her team. And speaking to them a couple of days ago, pre-tournament, Tanya, they said they were so honoured to be playing against the Silver Ferns. It has been a long time. It's been 7 years. And they just said that they take so much from being on court against the calibre of players that are out there today for New Zealand.
So it certainly is, and a great experience for all of them.
The long arms of Anna Scarlett, and she'll get the call, Solomona. Good penetration through that midcourt now, Cook Islands. And Martinga, she's used a truckload on attack. How's that?
Shot in center. The front of
Obstructing goal attack.
10 minutes to run now until half-time. 30-13 the score. The Silver Ferns leading the Cook Islands. And New Zealand's second pole match, and Anna Scarlett, all arms and legs, but so effective.
Doing some damage outside that circle edge.
Umpire had a bit of a tumble too. And interesting to watch the setup at centre pass time. Rasmussen and Tutaia.
Langman driving down for that second phase.
Practice contact, wing attack. Contact, wing attack, Brazilian. Obstructing goal attack, both of you.
Both players obstructing, so a nice easy passage this time you'd expect for the Cook Islands. Aliava, oh, and she finds Curly George.
She's certainly got some nice little touches feeding into that circle.
Langman at the hot spot, and Whippiiti, lovely front cut.
And Matapo for the Cook Islands having a crack, coming out. Some tight man-on-man marking on that centre pass from the Ferns.
Forced her right back into the goal third. And that, of course, means that the ball wasn't received in the centre third, so hence the turnover to the Silver Ferns.
Contact, goal defence, pass or shot.
Tutaia should pot this. Oh,
Obstruction, both players.
Matapo coming up with the rebound, should be happy with that.
and with a new venue like this, Tanya, the goalposts, the fact that the ball just kind of dribbles around the edge of them.
Yeah, from what I've seen since it started, you know, they either plop in or plop out.
But it's one of those things that as a shooter, it just takes a couple of games to adjust to.
It certainly does, and you'll find the shooters will be here prior to the warm-up, slotting the shots, just getting a feel.
Back construction wing.
Rasmussen, a beautiful drive into the pocket.
And Whippiiti there, through the defence.
In this goal attack, wing attack combination, Tutaia and Grace Rasmussen, it's one that we've seen for the Northern Mystics. So they're pretty familiar with one another's play, and you can see that those links are really nicely established.
Yeah. Certainly working well. I know they're best of buddies, Tutaia and Rasmussen, so Rasmussen certainly, having spoken to her yesterday, enjoying her opportunity.
Well, she's such a talented young player. She was probably the surprise package in the selection for these Commonwealth Games was Grace Rasmussen. She's just 22 years old. What a wonderful opportunity for her.
On her 6th test cap.
Keep the obstruction.
Whippiiti now. And nice and easy does it.
See some set moves from the Cook Islands on the centre pass there. Overloading one side, using Martinga to drive the ball through.
Varnish contact, wing attack. Varnish contact, goal attack.
And the Cook Island shooters doing a really good job of splitting the circle as well.
Wing attack, New Zealand punch pass.
Curly George certainly controlling it down that end.
She's pretty elusive, isn't she?
Oh, she's got a poke in the eye from Trina Grant. Not phased.
She's had more than one poke in the eye. She's played goal shoot for as long as 34-year-old Curly George has. Whippiiti now looks for Langman in the pocket, but Aliava'a's onto it.
Martinga, a beautiful drive through the court. Her and Brunton doing a truckload of work. Seems to be around this transverse line that the Cook Islands are getting stuck. The Ferns are pushing them out, pushing them up.
And they're setting up at the head of the circle to try and force them wide. Tahuna, though, sneaks along the baseline, up short, and Scarlett regathers. Massively quick passage through court. Tutaia finishes.
Deliberate breaking advance.
5 minutes now until half-time. 38-15 is the score. New Zealand leading the Cook Islands. And you'd have to say, Tanya, the Cook Islands, considering the last time these two met, there was a 90-goal deficit, 107-17. You'd have to say the Cook Islands are doing a sterling job.
They are, and their flow through the court. I think Ali Va'a is guiding them through. Martinga, Brunton showing patience. And old Curly George seems to be having a ball. She's making the most of her opportunity against these girls in black.
Goalkeeper, pass the shots. Yes, inside.
Langman will set the penalty offside. In fact, so Tutaia offloads. Oh, don't you love a goal attack who does that? Bonus intercept. Solomona now uses Brunton. And they go all the way back to the Cook Islands with the sweeping Silver Ferns defence.
And the work that's been done by the attackers just makes it so much easier for the defenders.
Goalkeeper, contact.
Rasmussen, Tutaia,
Yes, leave.
hands over every ball.
And Sahuna just loitering right under the post. So good stuff from the Cooks.
Matches contact, wing defence.
Whippy easy on the hot spot and a great baseline drive to Tutaia.
Tutaia certainly on fire today.
Oh, Katrina Grant.
Match obstruction, wing.
First time we've seen the reset and it's Scarlett who's used.
New Zealand.
Uncharacteristic. Maria Tutaia. New Zealand shooting at 87%. Cook Islands shooting at 77%.
Pass. New Zealand.
Nothing but net helps an awful lot in that regard, doesn't it, Tanya?
Certainly does. Bit of an issue with the old bibs.
An age-old issue, that one, isn't it?
At least they don't have the tie-up ones anymore. Oh. Oliver are going for everything.
Obstruction, wing attack, Cook Islands.
Rasmussen called for distance. And Aliva, a lovely drive through.
Contact. Wing
And a
attack.
Scarlett certainly doing some damage out there.
Wing attack.
Hasn't played a lot at wing defence, so those long arms.
Yes, Tanya, you mentioned about the value of games like this when you look ahead to the big pool games. And, you know, you can only imagine that the hands-on pressure that a player like Anna Scarlett would put on in that wing defence position. And the similarities between wing defence and goal kick, you play a lot on the left-hand side of the court. You use that away hand that you're so used to using as a goalkeeper. So there's a lot of similarities between the two positions.
That's right. And, you know, a wing defence, we often don't talk about the wing defence much, but the amount of work they do, the amount of ball they set up for both goal keep and goal defence is unbelievable. And you hear defenders talking about and giving credit to the amount of work the wing defence does.
Well, especially when some of the moves that have been coached in this Silver Ferns unit with Ruth Aiken and her assistant Waitomanu, you know, there's so many great structured defensive setups where you have the wing defence and the centre setting up at the head of the circle to force that ball wide and set up intercepts for those circle defenders. So, yeah, Scarlett thrown in the mix at wing defence, awesome. Tutaia, meantime, makes it look so simple.
And there you see a wall-type defence on the centre pass. De Bruyne, another deflection.
It's like shutting a sliding door, isn't it?
It's making it so tough for the Cooks to actually get out and get that first phase on the centre pass.
Obstructing wing.
And quite often we hear, you know, the girls say they go for 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds you've got to go for. Keep that pressure on. Don't let up.
That'll be the final play in the first half of this match between the Silver Ferns and the Cook Islands. Tiagaraj Stadium in Delhi. It's the second pool match for the Silver Ferns, and they're having a bit of a field day. They lead at half-time 42-17 against the Cook Islands. And Tanya, your assessment of the first 30?
To be honest, I think the Silver Ferns have got some solid ball. They're finishing off nicely. Danica Wipiiti has impressed me the way she's come on compared to yesterday. She's in that zone. She's moving the ball well. I like how Ruth Aitken is mixing up the combinations. Anna Scarlett, I wouldn't have thought of putting out at wing defence, but you look at the deflections and the ball she's setting up for the defenders is great. Cook Islands, they've actually done better than what I thought they would do. You know, they got 8 goals in the first quarter. They got 9 there. So they certainly, their performance, their ball, bringing it through the court, the likes of Luciana Martinga, Batua Aliva, certainly bringing it through. And you know, you look at the stats, the likes of Curly George with her shooting percentage. The Ferns, 86%, they'll be pretty happy with that. Turnovers, maybe want to bring that down a bit. But in terms of the intercepts and the deflections, look at that, 14 deflections. That means that is coming from full court pressure from all 7 players, right from the shooter all the way through.
Through the Silver Ferns midcourt as well, Tima Para-George sitting this one out. But in a way, it's given Ruth Aitken and her coaching staff the opportunity to play around with those midcourt combinations, and that's not such a bad thing.
Yeah, I guess if, you know, George was healthy and well at this stage, we may not have seen Grace Rasmussen out at wing attack, but you know, Ruth Aitken and her management team will be looking at the what ifs. What if someone goes down? What if George doesn't get right? We've got to have options up our sleeve. Barrett Chase has proven there. She's an impact player. You've got to have someone else there as well.
Irene van Dijk, she started today for her 111th Test cap, making her the most capped player to have worn the Silver Fern. She went really well, but she'll enjoy watching the second half if she's not re-injected from the bench.
Look, I'm sure we'll see her injected back into the game. I'm thinking Ruth in that last quarter will hopefully have her starting 7, which she may have to have without Tima Para-George. But Irene van Dijk beaming. You saw her as she came through the stadium, biggest smile in the world, loving the opportunity. Very special day for her today, and yeah, she'll be making the most of it.
Well, it's fantastic that there's a crowd in to watch this spectacle at Tiagaraj Stadium. Some very interested spectators there in the English players. They had a pretty good win in their second pool match this morning. But it is half-time here in Delhi, and it's the Silver Ferns who are utterly dominant over the Cook Islands. The score heading to the half-time break, 42-17, New Zealand leading the Cook Islands. Getting set for the start of the third quarter between New Zealand's Silver Ferns and the Cook Islands here at Tiagaraj Stadium, the venue for the netball at the 2010 Commonwealth Games here in Delhi. And the score at half-time, the Silver Ferns leading the Cooks 42-17. And former Silver Fern Tanya Dalton, I guess you'd expect a few more combinations to come out in the Ferns colours for the second spell.
Yeah, certainly a strong start. You know, you've seen Ruth Aitken mix it up from the first quarter to the second quarter. I guess a surprise that we wouldn't have expected. Anna Scarlett in at wing defence, doing some damage and setting up some solid ball for the likes of De Bruyne and Grant in there. So, yeah, I'm sure Ruth will look to mix it up again in the second half.
We've seen some of the England players here spying, if you like, taking a look at how the Silver Ferns are shaping up. This is game 2 for them. What's your assessment so far of how this New Zealand team's shaping?
It's funny you say that, Andrea. I watched England today. They were up against South Africa, who, you know, I thought South Africa pushed them reasonably hard. I don't think England are firing at the moment. Okay. They haven't really been challenged, but like the Silver Ferns, I think defensively they're always strong. McCloma, Mentor, Jade Jay Clark, I thought she had a pretty average game today. Down their attacking end, Jo Harton has impressed me at shooter, but I think that is where they're vulnerable. With the likes of our defence, you know, Williams, Scarlett, De Bruyne, Brandt, all of them just, you know, solid in defence, and I think that's where we will, you know, do well over them.
You mentioned the earlier match between England and South Africa. The final score was 54-36 to England, but in the second spell, South Africa got within 2 of England, and they did look a little at 6s and 7s. And you wonder if between now and Thursday morning, with the big pool clash between England and New Zealand, if they can remedy that and rectify it.
Well, we've said, you know, said before, England are a bit of a bogey team for the Silver Ferns, and they often bring something out of the bag. And although they may not look like they're firing and at that level yet, come a couple of days.
Only takes one game, doesn't it?
It's game on. It's 60 minutes, 4 quarters, and it's a simple game. So don't underestimate the English side. They're talking to them pretty cocky, but they'll be watching this game with interest.
So just peering out onto the court and checking out some of the changes implemented for the Silver Ferns. Irene van Dijk in her 111th Test match gets a run at goal attack, so we haven't seen her out there stopping off case, having a bit of a crack at before she gets underway with Margie Martinga's daughter, one of the stars for the Cook Islands.
She's unbelievable. You wouldn't think she was in a serious game, and she even does this in the tight matches against Australia. So
great to see, isn't it? Wonderful sportsmanship.
And Captain Casey Williams comes on at goal defence, her 50th Test match. 25 years old. Outstanding individual.
Quarter number 3, New Zealand up against the Cook Islands, and going in it's 42-17. Ball just dribbles out, but the penalty goes against Martinga.
I don't know if I've seen this combination of Van Dijk and Whippieti. Yes. Certainly not short.
Aliava has to look behind her, so they set again to the Cook Islands. And they look for a way through.
And this is where Van Dijk can do so much damage at goal attack. Those arms, forcing balls like that for...
And Tanya, when you talk about the technicals of, you know, those arms forcing balls like that, I mean, is it just that the hands-on pressure forces inaccuracy in the pass?
Certainly, just blocking of the vision by the passer there, you force that stray ball, and often you as a 3-foot marker, you don't get the ball, but it's the people in behind who you are working with in terms of forcing to whatever side.
And the big zone from the Cook Islands, but Silver Ferns easily penetrate. And a really nicely weighted lob in.
And although Irene van Dijk, you know, she's got the goal attack bib on often, I'm sure we'll see Whippieti come out, play that goal attack role.
And the umpire just deems out of court.
And already a few turnovers for the Silver Ferns. They want to tidy this up.
Good relaxed circle movement from Whippieti. And Van Dijk, awesome positioning for the rebound, right under the post. Takes a while to ease back into it after a quarter on the bench.
And it's different at goal attack. Yeah, the more running around more, you're often a little bit more tired when you're shooting, so it is an adjustment.
So Tahuna very sensibly just tries to work her way closer in, and Katrina Grant has a go. Might as well. Good fast hands. It was never on though, and everyone knows it. Curtly George.
Oh, Grant strong at going up for that rebound.
Scarlett now pretty strong mid-court zone, Cook Islands. Holds the Ferns up briefly, but Van Dijk's on the baseline.
Again, another just stray ball.
It's the timing of the pass. as this combination tries to settle in. And footwork this time, so stepping Matapol.
Yep.
And for the Cook Islands, Melissa Pittman's come on at wing attack. She was a member of in the World Youth Cup in the under-21 side for the Cook Islands.
Francis, great ball attack.
Good basic netball done well. The perfect triangle, you could say.
Yeah, with usually using the top of the circle.
Francis, great goal defence.
Tahuna now wide on the goal attack side. It's back to Brunton.
Back construction, wing defence.
Arms over everything. Scarlett, so effective with that away hand.
So much leverage with those limbs. Pittman nestled nicely, but too much on it. Clearly George was never going to get to that. He hurtles through the bleachers.
Oh, set up there, nice screen. Put on by Barrett Chase. And Van Dyke to come up and receive it just in that third.
And Williams out hunting.
Just seem to have lost that flow of it down this attack end. I guess a new combo with Van Dyke, Wippiuti.
Yep.
The third quarter's almost 5 minutes old and it's 48-17. And the last time these two met, over the course of the entire match, the Cook Islands only scored 17 goals back in 2003 at the World Champs with one T. Jolton playing goal attack.
Goal shooter contact, New Zealand.
So some encouraging signs for this Cook Islands team as they head towards the rest of their pool matches.
Well, we called up with Niall Gifford, their coach, earlier, and their training, they were very committed. They were doing some set plays. And we're seeing it out here today, the way they're bringing that ball through court. Because player for player, you look at their opposition, they've got to be proud of what they've done so far.
Oh, yeah, it's a David and Goliath type exchange, isn't it? But we talked to Ngā about some of the challenges that she faces as the Cook Islands coach. You know, 2 players are based in Rarotonga, the rest scattered New Zealand, Australia. Such a limited lead in, they have financial restrictions. So the importance of being a part of the Commonwealth Games is just, I mean, it can't be underestimated, the experience of being here for them.
Yeah, and similar to the likes of Samoa, having caught up with Linda Wagner, their coach. You know, they're all here voluntary basis. They're here for the love of the sport and, you know, the passion and the pride in their country. For the Cook Islands being here, they've missed out on qualification for next year's World Champs in Singapore. The 2 teams that are qualified from the Oceania are Fiji and Samoa, so they'll be disappointed in that.
And Irene Van Dyke just has a little dance. Don't know whether the casting folk from Dancing with the Stars are watching, but that was pretty good footwork. And now the big cross court, it's dangerous. And it's out the back door.
And already you see Langman setting up a screen.
It's the way to break a full court zone, isn't it? Any young players out there watching, the Silver Ferns just broke the zone perfectly. Laura Langman picked up a player so that the zone can't defend the space, and then you look over the mess and Irene Van Dyke scores a goal for you. Van Dyke the away hand, she'll get penalised though, a bit of a slap to the wrist. His signature smile. Pittman and Ali combine nicely.
Again, Grant spoiling. Oh, Van Dyke strong in the air on those rebounds.
Her body positioning to start with is just fantastic. Uses her body to hold the prime space, the prime rebound space. And then up and at him. Lovely offload, Whippiiti to Van Dijk. It's a pretty strong New Zealand bench when you look at it.
Casey Williams getting a touch to the ball there. Yesterday, 7 deflections, 5 intercepts, 5 rebounds.
Not a bad day's work.
Not a bad day in the office.
Shirley George now set up in the outer reaches of the circle.
Contact wing defence.
Katrina Grant, look at the work she's doing on George to try and not let her have a front space. Awesome. And the layup. Oh, you hate it when those ones don't come off.
And you've got to be impressed with this defensive combination. Cook Islands only having scored 1 goal in this quarter.
Offside wing defence, Cook Islands. Yep.
So the injection of Captain Casey.
And just a glimpse then on that turnover about the variety that we spoke of earlier. You saw Katrina Grant switch across to the goal defence side. And Casey Williams set up camp on the goal keep side. And what that does for a team trying to attack against you is it just confuses the living bajinkas out of them.
Oh,
Langman now.
Yeah, nice little roll from Whippiiti.
And the feeding of Laura Langman, she's just one of the hardest working Silver Ferns, isn't she, Tanya, on her feeding?
Yeah. And not only her feeding and her finesse with the ball, defensively, the pressure she applies around the circle edge helps make our defenders, New Zealand defenders, look good.
Too close, Williams. So George will have a free shot. She makes the most of it.
When we talk about Laura Langman, you know, when she first came into Silver Fern, she was, you'd say, just a wing defence. And now her ability at centre, she's certainly got that down pat. Scarlett again.
That hands-on pressure. And a delicate little touch from Whippiiti to Van Dijk.
Van Dijk showing her commitment there.
An easy passage into the circle.
And it's those crumbs are what the Silver Ferns are looking for, you know. If a player gets a deflection, it's black ball. They'll be wanting to pick it up, work for each other. This is what they've spent the last 18 months, you'd probably say, on this campaign. This is all part of it. Although a comfortable win, this will all lead to the greater goal of what they want to achieve.
3.5 minutes now to run in this third quarter at Tiagaraj Stadium in Delhi. The Silver Ferns leading the Cook Islands 59-19. The Silver Ferns just running rampant. Their defence is swarming, and on attack just so free-flowing. Any one of 3 Silver Ferns could have grabbed that one. They're at chase now.
And that change down the Cook Island end with Melissa Pittman coming on at wing attack just hasn't quite clicked, quite connected.
You do wonder though how much has to do with the injection of, as you say, Captain Casey Williams injected into the game.
And Cook Islands only having got 2 goals this quarter.
And held ball, so a stunning defensive shot from Williams. Options galore for the Silver Ferns. Liana Barrett-Chase has such a great bag of tricks. She's one player who we haven't spoken of today.
Like yesterday, we saw her at both wing attack and centre. The bit that's impressed me about Liana Barrett-Chase is her defensive game. She's come up with some beautiful turnovers, and her feeding into the shooters has been pinpoint.
Also the speed with which she transfers the ball. So from receipt of ball to offloading it again. I mean, it's sublime and it makes such a difference, doesn't it? Just like that.
I'm glad Van Dyke caught that then as we were talking her up.
Well, I think Barrett-Chase will be giving her the quiet thank you.
She came into the team in 2008, Barrett-Chase, and you know we've seen her come on the court, making an impact, making the most of her opportunities. Temepara George, again not playing today. And I know Temepara George is one lady who is a tough cookie and will be hating it.
Will be easy to transfer to Van Dyke. And the Silver Ferns really just having a bit of a field day of it in the late stages of this third quarter here in Delhi.
Cook Island starting just to look a little bit tired. You know, a team so quick as the Silver Ferns, you often end up chasing. And you try and play at the pace they do.
And that'll be the last act of the third quarter here at Thiagaraj Stadium in India. It's the Silver Ferns who are well ahead of the Cook Islands. No surprises there, but we've seen plenty of stunning stuff from this New Zealand combination. As we head to the break at three-quarter time, though, it's New Zealand leading the Cooks by 67-19. We're getting set for the start of the final quarter between New Zealand and the Cook Islands. The second pool game for the Silver Ferns here at the Commonwealth Games at Thiagaraj Stadium in Delhi. And it's the Silver Ferns well and truly ahead, 67-19 after Tanya Dalton, you'd say, a fruitful third quarter.
It was. When you look at the score, you know, the Silver Ferns 25, the Cook Islands only scoring 2 goals in that quarter. Is that because the injection of Captain Casey Williams? I just think the total team effort. For the Silver Ferns, though, I think there was some unnecessary turnovers in that third quarter, and I'm sure they'll want to rectify that in this final quarter.
Well, as we peer out onto the court, plenty more changes. I guess the key one, the woman with the ball now, Jolene Henry. Underway, fourth quarter, New Zealand Cook Islands. 67-19 it is. The Silver Ferns leading their Pacific neighbours.
Well, at the Silver Fern trials for this Commonwealth Games team, Jolene Henry did get a run at centre, so she was surprised, but here it is.
And the other change, Grace Rasmussen comes on at goal attack. Taking the place of Irene Van Dyke, who spent the third quarter at goal attack, and Maria Tetayer. Casey Williams, big tumble. She's a tough cookie though, isn't she? We've seen her play with all sorts of war wounds, for want of a better term.
Saw physio Sharon Kearney's face then, cringe.
And a couple of changes for the Cook Islands as well. Aliava's gone to wing attack. And Pittman to wing defence just to try and mix up that mid-court.
Yeah, and we've got another Tahuna on. Twin Paula Tahuna comes in at goal keep.
Casey Williams just receiving a little bit of attention. Here's why. Whoops. Ow. No shortage of commitment, Casey Williams.
They're putting a bit of ice on the old butt, I think.
She always seems to get up from them though, doesn't she, Casey Williams?
It's such a fantastic couple of seasons. She used to have so much trouble with her knees. Really enjoyed being fully fit and training at full capacity.
Well, many say that she's the best defender in the world at the current time. And Tanya, I think it would be pretty hard to debate that.
Just the way she flies through the air, her anticipation of the intercepts. She is one outstanding young lady captaining this side at 25 years old, 50th test cap today, and just a neat lady with it.
She's taken a tumble though, so the goal defence bids being domed on to Liana de Bruin.
And I guess for the Silver Ferns, they won't be wanting to take any risks. Why keep Casey Williams out there if she's a little bit marginal?
Sponge offside.
The Cook Island veteran Kelly George will get play back underway.
Goalkeeper. Yep.
George and Grant having a bit of a tangle there.
Kelly George has been pretty inspirational for her Cook Island side today. Been so impressed with her performance.
Rasmussen trying to just screen and then roll off. Umpire caught her with a light little shove. Oh, and that does not look good.
Contact wing defence, match pass.
Oh, it's a sight you never, ever want to see. Solomona is in some difficulty, and here's why, just a knee. Oh, Tanya. We've seen that so many times on the netball court, haven't we?
We've seen it. I've been there.
Yeah. Oh, it makes you cringe. Let's just hope it's not as bad as it looks, but certainly she's staying on the ground for a very long time, is Holly Solomona. And Gifford, the coach of the Cook Islands team, not a sight any coach wants to see.
No. Holly Solomona resides in Australia.
And the little pocket of Cook Island supporters.
Even Van Dyke there.
Yeah. Well, it can be a cruel game, this sport of ours. And I'm sure everybody in the stadium will be sending their best wishes to Holly Solomona as she's helped off the court. Just landed so awkwardly in that knee.
Contact wing defence, New Zealand. Outside. Outside. Wing defence, New Zealand.
We've
Yes.
seen Melissa Pittman
Sorry. Poorly.
come on at centre. We saw her earlier at wing attack.
And she's just moved there from wing defence where she was placed for this final quarter. And so she's now replaced at wing defence by Celeste Brunton, who's re-injected into the game. Silver Ferns quick to turn it over.
And this is another situation for the Silver Ferns, you know, starting again after an injury break. They would have worked on these sort of scenarios.
On the ball, goal defence, pass or shot, both out, back please shooter, ready there.
And Tutaia finishes, so 12.5 minutes left in this one. And just a sense, the Cook Islands team just starting to run out of steam.
Back to offside goal attack. Back obstruction, West defence.
Chase looks to go, and she's under all sorts of pressure.
Yes.
And just the wrong space. Maria Tutaia turned inside out by that pass.
And both shooters caught standing. close in.
Oh, Scarlett. She just scoops them up.
I'm sure in Aiken's head, certainly an option there at wing defence. Pretty amazing story, old Anna Scarlett. To think a few months ago, she just decided that she'd given the beach volleyball a miss. They weren't going to make it. She'd given it a nudge. That was her goal. And to be back here in the black dress.
Yeah, certainly a dream come true, and catching up with her a few days ago, Tanya in the Athletes Village, she said she's just overwhelmed to be here. She can't really believe the turn of events that's brought her here, but she offers so much to New Zealand netball, because even though she's a gangly sort of a player, she's got such grace and coordination and timing.
And such a competitor, you know, she's always questioning Ruth Aitken, what can I do, how can I make myself better? She knows she needs that constant feedback because she demands perfection, which is, you know, what you want from any player out there.
Contact wing defence, New Zealand. Wishes.
Barrett Chase sets the penalty for New Zealand, and Rasmussen and Tutaia will try and rotate the circle, work it round, offloads. And she looks as cool as a cucumber. It's Tutaia.
Rasmussen starting at goal attack yesterday in the Silver Ferns first game. Shot at 94%. So a pretty good start for the youngster.
Oh, DeBrain looked deep, but it was never on. Well, a brief respite for the Cook Islands. Doesn't last long though. Grant this time snaffles the rebound and they're away again.
Oh, Henry on the charge. I mean, we've seen Jolene Henry, I remember seasons ago, playing at goal attack for the Magic, so certainly a versatile player. Was originally in-circle defender and then got moved out to wing defence.
Started as a shooter though, as you say. Converted to the good end.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of her strengths as a defender, her ability to attack that ball through the court, her feeding into the shooter. She looks long.
And she's got such a powerful pass on her. Here's that amazing sliding defence from the Silver Ferns. It forces the held ball. It's such a joy to watch.
You saw Pittman's face there. Pretty much tells a story.
Tutaia converts it.
Contact in the ball.
Rasmussen baseline gets the penalty.
Yep.
But she'll need to set the penalty in the correct position. Does so. In their opening match of the pool, the Silver Ferns cracked the ton, if you like. Got past the 100, and it was quite interesting, Tanya, yesterday bumping into a New Zealand match official while we were waiting at security. And there was a little bit of tension here at Tiagaraj Stadium, just in case the scoreboard wasn't capable of ticking over to triple figures.
And wasn't it funny, the Ferns, they sat at 99 for a while and they struggled to actually get to that 100 for a while. There was a few turnovers, but it ticked over and everybody was happy. I guess the other funny story from yesterday, Trinidad and Tobago, their game was delayed half an hour because the bus driver got lost.
Took them to the wrong venue, in fact.
So there's some funny stories to come out. Talking to Lynn Gunson earlier. The girls have been getting all their hand sanitisers, their mosquito repellent, everything confiscated off them as they come through the gate.
Well, not just the players, of course, Tanya, officials, media.
We get everything taken
It
off us.
changes every day, really. So challenging times, but, you know, as you were saying, Lynn Gunson just decided it wasn't worth wasting the energy on worrying about it. It's just get on with all of the kookiness of having a Commonwealth Games in this beautiful city. Aliava'a now for the Cook Islands, but that swarming wall of Silver Ferns defence. Billy George will set the penalty.
And There it is, an unforgiving post. Oh, nice split, Tutaia pulling towards the head. Rasmussen, she uses that base nicely.
And nothing but net. Really good reading and good receipt of the pass from Grace Rasmussen. And Tanya, if you were to talk about the fundamental differences offered between Grace Rasmussen at goal attack and Maria Tutaia at goal attack, with Aaron van Dijk, in the back for these big games ahead, what would they be?
Well, obviously, with Rasmussen, she's a lot shorter, so you can't put that big ball over. But the way I'd say she's got more pace than Tutaia, the way she slices the circle, she uses the base well. She's got nice finesse with the ball. Tutaia, she's probably more prone to shooting from anywhere. She's a beautiful shooter. When she's on song, she puts it in. She's not afraid to put them up from anywhere. Rasmussen, I haven't really seen her under real pressure in terms of what she can do when it comes to shooting. But Tutaia, we know, if she's on song, the whole team seems to lift.
The other thing with Tutaia as well is that when she's out at goal attack, she offers quite a bit defensively these days.
Well, that's certainly a part of her game that has improved. We've seen it today. There are a number of deflections and even a few intercepts for her. So that's so important to the whole picture of the Silver Ferns. These attackers doing the work, doing the hard yards, forcing that ball for the defenders.
Tahuna slots another one for the Cook Islands, so that's one back because they have the pass as well.
Ball attack,
And just looking to finish with a real flurry, this Cook Island side. As to the Silver Ferns, their next outing on court is on Thursday morning. A rather unorthodox time of 9:30. And it's the most important match of the pool against England.
And we don't see a lot of test matches played at 9:30, but the Silver Ferns, they've been simulating this sort of draw, getting up at 5:30, training at 9:30. I'm sure the scenario work they will have been doing from last 5 minutes in a game to the last 30 seconds to 2 down with 2 minutes to go. They will have covered it all.
And Tutaia, nice and relaxed, good follow through. Just under 4 minutes left to run down now here in this match at Te Agaraj Stadium between the Silver Ferns and the Cook Islands, 83-23. Make that 84, but to give it perspective, the last time these two met, it was a 90-goal margin back at the World Champs in 2003. So I guess you'd say encouraging signs for the Cook Islands, and certainly encouraging signs from what we've seen from the Silver Ferns with just this multitude of combinations out on court.
Certainly. Now Gifford, the coach for Cook Islands, has got to be proud of her side. This is their first game here at the Commonwealth Games up against the Silver Ferns, the girls in black, looking sharp. They started so well. At third quarter, they probably went downhill a bit, but they're holding their heads up. And right there, they're certainly still coming up with turnover ball.
There's certainly no shortage of passion and determination from this Cook Islands nation. Oh. Bit of an altercation.
Yes. Little Henry elbow. Sure she didn't mean it. Again, Scarlett.
She just scavenges at wing defence, doesn't she?
She's certainly got...
Beautiful.
Oh. Remember Ruth Aitken used to say, if you're going to do that, you've got to get them in, so...
Fair enough call. Which I guess means you never did any.
No, I just never did. And I think it was the last few minutes yesterday that the Silver Ferns sort of struggled a bit. So they'll want to finish strong.
bit of pit-a-pat results in the Cook Islands having another crack. Just under 2 minutes now for the Silver Ferns to have a really tidy finish to this match. Full court zone from the Cook Islands, but the Ferns straight through it. Would have been a great space for Grace Rasmussen.
Destruction goal attack.
And she's penalised for her troubles.
And the Ferns working hard.
Destruction goal attack.
3-foot mark over everything.
Probably lucky not to have the held ball, the Cook Islands.
Oh, Scarlett.
Beautifully
Again.
read. And loitering this time on the goal defence side, so she's all over the place as Anna Scarlett. Martinga now the throw-in for the Cook Islands. Pittman will look to regather. Obstruction.
Open contact, goal, back, bounce pass.
And 2-on-1.
Yeah.
So the Cook Islands will look to set up, they do.
Stand up. Yes, thanks.
Back destruction way.
Plucked out of thin air, Jolene Henry. Pretty much sums up how the second half's gone for the Cook Islands. Jolene Henry looks for one more big bomb in.
Knew there was only 10 seconds on the clock.
Back destruction way. Back destruction way defense.
And that'll do it. The Silver Ferns have captured their second pool game of these Delhi Commonwealth Games, and they've done so in style with an 87-24 victory over the Cook Islands. That means that they'll go into Thursday's all-important pool match against England with 2 hefty wins under their belt. And you'd imagine Tanya Dalton feeling pretty good.
Certainly, they came out. I thought they were clinical in their approach. Ruth Aitken surprised me a little bit with some of her lineups, the likes of Jolene Henry at centre. You know, we saw Whippy here in Van Dyke. I don't think I've seen that combination before in the circle. But, you know, they came out, you saw that steely type look on the Silver Ferns faces. They mean business, and this is just another one that they tick off.
Plenty of combinations out there. The most interesting one, though, probably Anna Scarlett at wing defence. The possibility.
Well, you know, when I first saw it, I was surprised, but she impressed me today. Her long arms, it wasn't just the intercept deflections she got that were picked up. And looking at the stats, I guess the big figure there, the intercepts and the deflections, and what that comes from is the full court pressure from all 7 players. The 30 deflections, often the loose ball was picked up from that. So in terms of shooting percentage, 85%, the girls will be pretty happy with that. And turnovers at 19 to Cook Islands, they started to struggle, especially in that third quarter.
Well, the Cook Islands certainly fizzled as far as their fitness went through the dying stages, but they can be really proud of their performance. The glimpses, though, shown by the Silver Ferns just so encouraging as we start to, you know, head towards the business end of this tournament.
Look, I think the Silver Ferns are on track. Obviously, Casey Williams went off. Hopefully that wasn't a major, it didn't look too bad, but I guess they're just being careful with that sort of thing. Temakara George is the only one we haven't seen in this tournament. Hopefully she comes right with that inner ear sort of problem. But other than that, I think the girls are certainly on track.
One of the stars for the Cook Islands, absolutely without doubt. The woman who we just saw a shot of earlier, Curly George at goal shoot, 34 years old.
And I'm sure she's an ex-volleyballer as well. Shows the passion and the drive out there, never gave up. Again, struggled in that third quarter, but you know, to their credit, they came back in that last quarter and they pushed through and held their heads high.
It was always going to be a tough ask for the Cook Islands, though, wasn't it? In this extremely strong pool.
I guess in England's favour heading to Thursday's pool match. They had a reasonably tough game against South Africa. New Zealand, like you said, have come off 2 hefty wins, so they haven't really been challenged too much. So I guess in England's favour, you know, they struggled a bit in the start against that South African game.
Yes, if you haven't caught up with that result yet, England beat South Africa early, 54-36 in the early game. But the South Africans, well, they came within 2 of the English, so I'm sure a couple of worries nestled in the back of the minds of this England campaign, who are here without their coach, Sue Hawkins. But it's the New Zealand side, really, that we're focused on for this one. And they've had a boomer in their second pool match here at Tiagaraj Stadium. They'll go back to the Games Village with a huge victory under their belts because they've beaten the Cook Islands by 86-24.